Hi guys, and welcome to WordPress for Beginners. In this first video, we're going to look at domain names and web hosting as part of setting up your first website. Now, a domain name is the address that you want your site to be located at that people can type in into their browsers, like facebook.com. While the web hosting is where the actual pages of the website are stored under a particular domain name. So now, depending on your reasons for creating a website, whether it's for a business or just a side project, you will have ideas of domain names in mind already. Either way, your goal is to get people to your website, and to do this, you also might want to take advantage of some SEO features that the web has to offer. A domain name, for example, or a website name is a highly ranked SEO term. And what that means is that when people type in a search word on Google and it matches the domain name, you're likely to be higher up on the first page of Google. So therefore, choosing the domain name wisely could make all the difference in having the right kind of people find your website when they're searching for different things. Let's say you do professional coaching in Australia, for example, and you want a website for this business. A great way to find words that could be used in your domain name is by using the Google Keyword Planner, which is part of Google AdWords. I'm going to head over to Google AdWords that I've already got open here, where you can see the Keyword Planner. Now, while we're going to search for keyword and ad group ideas, you can completely disregard the ad group ideas at this moment because we are not actually creating Google Ads. We simply need the keyword component of this tool. So what I'm going to do is click on this and then type in professional coaching, because that is the business that we're running. There are other options here where you can add things like a product category, or you can target differently. In our case, because we do professional coaching in Australia, we'll leave the targeting as is and we'll click Get Ideas. Once again, we'll ignore the Ad Group Ideas tab and we'll head over to the Keyword Ideas tab. This page will show us a number of search terms as well as the average monthly searches. The other columns can again be disregarded because they're more relating to ads than anything else. In our case, what we can see here is that professional coaching is searched 40 times in a month in average. Whereas if we scroll further down, we can see business coaching gets 880 searches, which is a lot more. Further scrolling will also reveal that executive coaching gets 590 searches a month. So in essence, while you say that you do professional coaching in Australia, you're likely to find better users or better customers coming to your website if you were to use words like business coaching or executive coaching. On the other hand, some people like to use something known as domain name generators to help find different domain names. While this has no particular SEO benefit, what it does help with is come up with quirky names or names that really stand out against the competition, and this can also have an edge for your business. So we'll head over to something known as Panabi.com, which is just one of the many sites that helps you randomly generate different kinds of domain names. Here we type in the different keywords, so in our case, we'll type in professional coaching, and on hitting the search button, we should essentially get a list of different names that it suggests as domains. In our case, you can see that we obviously have professional coaching as the option, as the very first option. But we do have other different random names. In this case, some of them don't really quite work, such as professional coaching, where they've dropped the P off, which doesn't really sound right. But if you do keep scrolling down, you may come across a name that seems to stand out. For us, I think one of the ones that I've noticed here is something like Pro Coaching or Coaching Pro. And Coaching Pro, even though it essentially still means professional coaching, it's just a nice way of saying it. It rolls off the tongue, and it also makes it sound a little bit fun. So this is something that might work as a domain name. It makes sense that the next step is to buy the domain name and a web hosting space. I'm going to head on over to a web hosting provider that I like to use. They're known as Ventra IP, and they're Australian based, but they're also available in the US. You can use any web hosting provider that you know, you've come across, or someone may have recommended. Essentially, if they offer domain names and hosting together, that's all you really need. What I'm going to do is head over to domain names to purchase a domain, but just quickly before, I do want to show you something about hosting. So as I said before, hosting is essentially where your website is held, all the pages are placed, and in this case they do have different options. We had a look up here, we had economy, we had business, and we had multi-hosting. For us, for the purpose of making a simple website, economy hosting is more than enough, and what we see here are two different options of economy. The cheapest one starting at $7.95 a month, and you could prepay annually or biannually or so on. It shows you all the different details. So you have 5 gigabytes of storage space, you have 100 gigabytes of monthly data transfer, you can have unlimited emails at the domain, and so on and so forth. And as we progress with these videos, we will go through a few more of these in details, including setting up email accounts, adding on domains, and that sort of thing. Now what I'm going to do is head on over to the domain names, and we'll go ahead and buy the domain name that we just settled on, which is Coaching Pro. So we've got Coaching Pro. You have the option to select what you want at the end, whether it's a .com or .com.au. For us, we'll keep .com.au because we want to do professional coaching in Australia, so it makes sense to have the AU at the end. We'll hit go, and essentially you should get a page that tells you whether the domain name is available. Because no domain name can be shared by more than one person, you essentially cannot have a domain name if someone else already owns it. And that means that there will be a hit and miss sort of tango for some time. If you're trying to search for something simple, you might need to change the keywords to get the right domain. You might need to change the end to get the right available domain. For us, we're lucky because we have this available, so we'll carry on. I'm going to pick it for 2 years, which is usually the only option I have available for .com.au. But if I was to pick a .com email domain, I would get 1 year, 2 years, 3 years as an option over here. I'll hit order now, and on the next page, before typing in my ABN, there's a little red text here that says no hosting, click to add. Because we want some place where we can store website pages that this domain name will point toward, we click no hosting and we'll basically add one of the options. Now earlier I showed you Sydney Economy, and that started $7.95 a month, and what we're going to do is purchase this on an annual basis. Annual is just better for me because I like to not have to worry about it month on month, and sometimes I might forget to pay and then your website's down, and you don't want that. So having something that's affordable but also gives you that flexibility of not having to worry about it is great. I'll hit order now, and essentially it should bring me back to a page. Brings me to a page where it allows me to either use a domain that I've already picked or register a new domain. For us, we've already looked at Coaching Pro, which is available here, so we'll leave use a domain already in my shopping cart. But if we went the other way around and we first picked the hosting space, we'd essentially then want Ventrive to register the new domain name. So going back to this, I'll click to continue, and we've got the billing cycle. So we had annually. We have add-ons, 9-to-9 phone support if you'd like, and carbon offset, which I'll tick because it's a nice thing to do. I'll hit add to cart, and we're back to the page that we were on before, but now we don't have the red that says no hosting. So for an ABN, obviously I'll just put in a fake number for the time being and hit update cart, and essentially I'll have my order summary that shows the hosting, which is $91.74 annually, the add-on that I've just paid for, and the domain registration, coachingpro.com.au at $19.95. Ventrive do a great promotional offer, so for any first invoice, they do take half off. So using the code VIP50, which you might want to check the homepage if that's changed, you can validate the code, and essentially we've got to pay only $68 because it's taken out $45.87. So not exactly 50% off the full amount, but it's a discount and I'm happy with that. So I'll hit checkout, and essentially you then come to a page where you have to register, and once you've done this and paid for the domain and web hosting, you now own coachingpro.com.au. In the next videos, we'll look at how we'll set this up, but for the time being, that's great, and if you've reached that far, well done, and we'll see you next week.